Good morning, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Still congested. I just took some Claritin D, so because I just couldn't take it anymore, and I needed to all be dried up, even if it's artificially. So I don't know if it's going to get better by the end of this video, but the intention is there, okay? I have really just one Bath & Body Works candle for you today, which is whipped honey and vanilla. This one came out in one of the earlier fall waves. This was one of the still life kind of vibes here. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just going to put that out there. I have no idea. Some of them I thought were more successful than others. I feel like there was it wasn't a marshmallow fireside, but it was a vanilla one, like a mahogany vanilla. I think it was mahogany vanilla in this packaging. And I kind of liked the mahogany vanilla one, the still life for that one. The rest of them, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think it was a great idea. I'm just not sure that the execution, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that all of them are kind of a little bit, I don't know, almost like a greenish taupe like cast to it that just kind of makes me not love it. I don't know, I can't explain it. But at any rate, God bless, it's just the packaging. And at least it looks, like there was a point of view. And I'm grateful for that. So this is apparently, allegedly, a new fragrance. And I don't know if it's a new fragrance. I really don't. I know a lot of people are saying that it is a repackage of, weirdly, the vanilla coconut or whatever waves. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm not gonna get that. It was a hard name for me originally at the beginning of this year, and I'm definitely not remembering it now. But it's a coconut vanilla waves. Was that it? Coconut vanilla waves. It was a great package. It was that like kind of art deco, but like soft pastel colors. I loved the packaging. And I loved the candle. Ken from Candle Channel was the one that really highly promoted, kind of championed that fragrance, that candle. And honestly, I had no intention of buying it. It smelled in the jar a bit too caramel vanilla gourmandy for me personally. But I took a chance on it because of Ken's recommendation, and I'm so glad I did, because it was a phenomenal coconut candle, and it was really more of a coconut conceptual. It did have some musky driftwood notes on the bottom that made it a conceptual as opposed to a gourmand, and I really liked it. It had fairly good performance. Coconut candles and beach candles are kind of a dime a dozen at Bath & Body Works during the summer, and weirdly during January and February as well. And actually that was kind of a sleeper standout. So I was really happy with that. And I was kind of hoping to get another one, but by the time that I tried out, Surf. Vanilla Coconut Surf. That was it. Vanilla Coconut Surf. I knew it would come to me. I think that was it. It could be Coconut Vanilla Surf. No, I think it's Vanilla Coconut Surf. By the time that I tried that candle out, it was kind of on its way out, and then I didn't see any during like semi-annual or something like that, which is a good sign. It means that it must have sold pretty well and was well liked. So I'm really glad, and I think it'll probably be back again. There is a lot of talk about this being a repackage of that, and I find that a little bit odd, and I'm not sure that I agree. So the notes on whipped honey and vanilla are fresh vanilla, golden honey, and blossoming neroli. So I bought this candle before the chatter about it being the vanilla coconut surf. And I mean, I took it home, I had it for a couple weeks, and then people started saying it. And then I was like, wait, what? So I went and I like smelled it a few times, and I felt like a fool because I'm like, I flatter myself that my nose is pretty good, at least when it's not congested. I've got a pretty good nose, and I did love that candle, the Vanilla Coconut Surf. And I just felt like an idiot for not having picked up on the fact that this was a coconut candle. I'm not really convinced that there's coconut in it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I mean, obvious caveats being here that I haven't been able to smell anything purely for the last like 3 weeks of my life, and intermittently for the last 3 months of my life. So there's that. I just don't think there's coconut in here. Even because sometimes when somebody draws to your attention that there's a note in it, then it's like you can't unsmell it, and then you find it and like whatever else. That has not happened. It's just not. Now here's the thing. There is something similar. There is a good amount of vanilla, obviously. It's whipped honey and vanilla. There's a good amount of vanilla. I think there is kind of a driftwoody musk undertone to this. But it really could just be sandalwood. I think it might be sandalwood, which would make sense given the profile of the fragrance. Honey, vanilla, neroli, sandalwood would make sense there, right? But it is kind of a vaguely woody, musky kind of thing on the bottom. And yeah, it's a neroli. But the neroli is mitigated. It is softened and cut with a lot of the vanilla. Because often neroli will get very brassy. It's kind of one of those brassy, sunscreenish kind of notes, right? Neroli is kind of hard to mask. But here it is actually softened a great deal. Not brassy. It comes across much more soft, much more the way that like a plumeria would, for instance. Kind of drowning in a lot of vanilla. Honey, I wish there was a more strong honey note, to be honest. And I think that a very strong honey note, as opposed to something vaguely golden or something vaguely syrupy or something vaguely caramel. I'm talking about a true honey note would be fantastic, and it would make this candle much more seasonal than it is. Not that it's unseasonal, it's just not, if I smell this, what I immediately think, oh, this is a fall candle. I don't know. It is a little musky and sandalwoody, but the neroli note kind of takes you to a beachy place. I'm not gonna lie, it just does. And maybe that's the association of decades of sunscreens that contain an enormous amount of neroli notes in them. So it could just be an association, but it does kind of take you to a little bit of a beachy place. It kind of has that like golden sands kind of vibe to it, which is a beautiful, when it came out, I did think to myself, it is a beautiful transition from like August into September, because this probably came out in like June or something like that. But if you're still kind of, and I am, in the golden sands era in my late August, then this would have been a nice transitional candle because it does have kind of that obvious sandalwood neroli kind of thing, but it's muted. It's not brassy and loud. So it could be a very late August, and it has a ton of vanilla and kind of caramel overtones, which does feel like a little bit like it could be cozy, it could be a little bit of cashmere, etc., right? Because the neroli is swimming in all of that, it just mutes the whole thing and makes it less of a sunglasses on the beach kind of vibe to something a little bit more, I don't know what. I don't know that I would say full cozy weather with the neroli note. And like I said, I think a true blue chip honey note here would have made the difference and might have made this fragrance actually far more unique and interesting than what I think it actually is. I actually think this is a really boring candle. I'm not gonna lie to you. That said, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, like, if you went into it just thinking it was a vanilla candle, then I think you might be happy with it and might think that it's actually very nice and complicated. Because honestly, it kind of came across as a vanilla candle. Even with the sandalwood, even with the caramelized overtones, even with the neroli, it still was just kind of like bleh, bleh. Performed okay. So this burned all the way down to the whip clips. It got moderately sooty, but not bad. Not bad. And I didn't really have any huge problems with it. I can't say that it burned like a dream, but it didn't like develop horrible puny wicks or even burned as low as like Together Weather did or something like that. So it was fine. I wasn't coming into my house every night being like, oh my gosh, I have to burn this candle. It was like, oh, I have to burn this candle and get it done. You know, it was one of those. I can't say it was a hate burn, but it was just, I just don't think this is my candle. And gosh, I think a true honey note would have gone a long way with this candle, not only to make it a much more obviously September candle, a more harvesty candle, but I think to give it a little bit more interest. Yeah. It's a basey vanilla candle because it does have a little bit of that like musk sandalwood situation, even though sandalwood is unlisted here. And it does have kind of a deeper roasted feel to it. I think that that's the claim for it to be kind of a transitional seasonal fragrance. And I do want to give credit here that we have tried something different than a generic chai, apple, like whatever. I've said this before, I'll continue beating this drum. As much as I love those like traditional harvest fall offerings, I would love to see some candle companies doing something a little bit more original during this season. I mean, pumpkin spice and apple spice, you can get them anywhere. You can get them at CVS. I'm not saying we should stop doing them or should like make them a minority of the, I mean, they should be the majority of the offerings. Don't get me wrong. But on the margins, I would like to see candle companies flex a little bit and just think a little bit outside the box towards some other fall smells and feels that, you know, will give us some relief and possibly make us enjoy the pumpkin spice and apple candles that are on the floor, if you know what I mean, rather than just being like, I can't deal with this. And then being so exhausted by all of them by about like September that we can't proceed and we have to start burning fresh balsam. Like, okay, end of story. I appreciate that there is an effort here to do something different. I'm just not convinced that this is gonna convert anyone. And frankly, I don't know of that many people who went back out to the store to like buy backups, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's a no for me. And I don't think it has coconut in it. I could be wrong. But you know how like Fiji white sand smells like it has coconut in it and doesn't actually have coconut? There are just some there's a whole grouping of beach-like fragrance notes, and when you put them in a jar, it often makes you think coconut when there isn't a coconut, if that makes sense. I like I said, I could totally be wrong, but I don't think there's a coconut in this. And there is a strong coconut in the vanilla coconut surf. A very obvious one. So I don't think they're repackages. I guess I'll die on that hill, but not really die. I'll just, raise my flag and then shrink away, quietly. Because I don't want to die on that hill, actually, and I could be wrong, but I wouldn't purchase this again. Strength and throw on it was decent. It was decent, especially given the way that Bath & Body Works candles have gone this year. It was very decent. I want to say that, like, in the open concept, I could probably get it up to about a 6. In the back bedroom, in a more enclosed space, I could probably get it up to a 6.5, maybe even a 7. But it just wasn't an exciting 7. I don't know how else to say it. It just wasn't. It wasn't. And there were a lot of burns that were a whole lot less than that. So for me, it was just a blah, and I would not buy it again. If I wanted kind of a muted, more neutral candle, I would burn coffee and whiskey, to be honest. I preferred that over this. And I initially thought coffee and whiskey was fairly boring. So there's that. Coffee and whiskey has better lingering capabilities than this one does too. That's what made me start to respect coffee and whiskey a little bit more, actually, is the way that it lingers in your space in an atmospheric kind of way. I just don't know that this one did that. So nothing terrible about this candle. It's just not a candle I would repurchase. But I can't say that I can't recommend it either. And especially if you're a vanilla person, I think you would probably find it lovely. So maybe just a confession there, you know, a disclaimer that like I'm not a vanilla person, and I'll just say that I'm just not. The other one that I have, and you can't buy this one, and so it's not really a useful review for you, is this is one of my Facebook Marketplace buys. Back in the day, they had these test candles from the Fragrance Lab, and this one is a number 20, and it's going under the name Floral, but if you read the notes, it's ylang ylang, banana flower, tiare flower, and coconut. And I burned this one relatively recently, and I thought it was actually kind of similar to this one, so I thought, oh heck, I'll talk about it. I don't need to talk about it because I could just talk about it like in my, you know, monthly empties thing, but I thought I would at least compare it. So those are the notes. This one is definitely fresher and brighter than the whipped honey, and that would be obvious because right here you've got a lot of flowers and coconut. And there is a very creamy aspect to this Fragrance Lab candle. Very creamy. And it could probably be some vanilla base or something like that. But it's not as overtly vanilla as this candle is. And this one has more musk in it that kind of roots and grounds it and makes it a little bit more, like I said, roasty and basey as opposed to floral. Although there is a floral in there trying to like swim in all of the like musk and vanilla and caramel, if that makes sense. Here we have a lot of flowers, banana flower, tiare flower, and ylang ylang. Yeah, and all of them are really nice. I should have brought my Tropidelic out here because it kind of reminds me of Tropidelic, to be honest. Oh my gosh. When I do this for candle empties, I'm not going to bother right now. When I do this for candle empties at the end of this month, I will get my Tropidelic out. Because remember, with Tropidelic, I kept insisting, and I will keep insisting, that Tropidelic candle has a banana, like, almost like a banana leaf or a banana blossom-like note in it. I kept saying that it was a beautiful tropical white floral, but for me, what made that candle special was the slight botanical banana overtone to it. And I'm wondering if this is actually very similar to it. I don't think that there's any coconut in Tropidelic though. And this one does have coconut. So this is a little bit more of an overtly fruity floral. And it's a lot of floral, whereas Tropidelic has a few florals that are muted and some green elements as well. So from my remembrance, I think I like Tropidelic a little bit better because I love the green elements. And while I love coconut, I'm happy for just kind of a banana nuanced flower with a lot of green to kind of have its day. This one is not green. It's mostly floral with a little bit of coconut, but it's a very similar florals to the Tropidelic, and it's just a very similar candle. It's neroli-like without actually having neroli in it, if that makes sense. Yeah, I like this one better than this one. And this one burned about the way that I thought it would. It smelled exactly the same coming across. It was nice. It was nice. It didn't like change my life, you know, but like I said, very similar to Tropidelic, and I have several backups of Tropidelic. So I really liked Tropidelic. Performance on this wasn't bad. It got moderately sooty, as you can see, but burned all the way down to the wick clips. By the way, this was sold for $24.50, and the code on it is 7257. So I'm thinking that it's a 2017 candle, which would make it about 7-8 years old, something like that. Yeah, it's really nice. But it doesn't break, you know, the mold for Bath & Body Works. They do a ton of stuff like this. It is one of their more fresh and less synthetic creations. It doesn't have that like cliche Bath and Body Works shower gel kind of vibe to it. Much more in the same category as Tropidelic. So, yeah. I do like this one a little bit better than this one, but this one is more transitional and seasonal because it has the heavy vanilla caramel sandalwood musk kind of thing to it. Yeah, so there you go. Fragrance Lab and whipped honey and vanilla. What I appreciate is Bath & Body Works has been doing this for a very long time, and they just continue to kind of innovate, experiment. They retread the same ground a lot, but if you were Bath & Body Works and you put out the number of candles that they put out every single year for now decades, I'm sorry, would you be retreading some ground as well? And I think for the most part, they retread ground and improve a lot as they go along. So I'm a fan of Bath & Body Works, and it's taken me some time to be able to like admit that to myself, because I am certainly one of those people who made fun of Bath & Body Works for a long time and looked down my nose as a Yankee Candle girl because I burn actual candles from an actual candle company. And I treated I gave them very short shrift for a long time for a lot of reasons, some legitimate, some not. And I'm just impressed with the way they've stuck to this, held their own, really developed into one of the vanguard leaders right now in the candle industry. So I think it's impressive. I do. These are probably, neither one of them are my true candle, but I think that Floral comes the closest, and like I said, very similar to Tropidelic. But you're probably not going to be able to find it anywhere unless you find like a, Facebook Marketplace thing or whatever. But hey, did you burn this one back in the day? Did you encounter it? Do you remember it? You probably don't. Oh, look how it has like this like galvanized like lid. We kind of saw these for the, those greenhouse candles earlier in the year. So there you go. All right, friends, that's what I've got for you. I will link whipped honey and vanilla down below if it's available, but they have started to kind of clearance off many of their early fall wave candles, so I don't know if it's available on the website anymore. But just because it's not available on the website doesn't mean that it still wouldn't be available in your brick and mortar store. And if you're a vanilla person, I think you could. I hesitate to say you couldn't go wrong with this candle, but I think you could go wronger, more wrong. I don't think that's a word. You could do worse than this candle for this transitional kind of early fall season if you're a vanilla person. So check it out. There you go. Thanks so much for joining me, my friends. I'm glad I kept my promise and I give you a Friday video, even though I don't feel like it. I am still going to try to do Yankee Candle on Sunday, the big Christmas collection, and we're going to talk about it. So I will try to keep that promise as well. Thanks so much. Have an amazing Friday, an amazing Saturday, and I will see you on Sunday. Bye, guys.